Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Millennial Smark, and I'm bringing you the slop, the whole slop, and nothing but the slop. And what was one of the worst nights in AEW history in multiple ways? My God, I'm actually recording this directly after putting out that community post about the Solid Monster tweeting that out. I never thought I'd see the day where you have someone like Solid Monster. I mean, I thought it was already like crazy enough seeing JD these past couple of months completely let AEW have it when you know JD's history a couple of years ago when discussing AEW. And now you see the Solid Monster saying something like this. What do you say after that, right? Like that, I think JD and Solid Monster, who were just a couple of years ago two of the biggest AEW glazers ever. Now, to be fair, maybe I shouldn't. I mean, they were AEW glazers, but it's not as if they haven't given WWE props from time to time also. So I'm not going to sit there and just say they were completely biased because they weren't. That'd be lying. But my point being is, though, to see them, two guys who, for the most part, like the AEW, just say the things that they said last night, and JD for a lot longer than that, it puts things into perspective. Everyone is finally starting to wake up and understand that AEW for these past couple of years have been absolute fucking trash. Now, the only problem is that you have to see the trash over and over and over again to recognize that it's trash. It may not look like trash at first. It may look edible. It may look like something that you can use. It could be useful. But after seeing trash so many times and you have to smell it all the time, you finally recognize that it's trash. So let's recap last night as far as AEW Dynamite or as AEW Dynasty, and let's see the logic behind this as far as pushing forward, shall we? We shall. So you had Jon Moxley versus Swerve Strickland. Never mind the rest of the other matches, because that was by far the worst undercard. I think we could say that it's a subjective, it's a subjective point. But I think when you poll the majority of wrestling fans, right? I think the majority of people would agree that that was the worst undercard in AEW history, right? Might not be for me. I think there have been worse undercards than that, in my opinion, but that was still a really, really bad undercard. But I think even for the most faithful AEW fans, they say, I heard them last night on Twitter, they were worse. It's funny, AEW is bad. When I heard AEW critics who were way more critical of the show than I was, at least I gave like 2-3 star matches on that show, and it feels like everybody's just praising the triple threat match, and they're just burying the entire card. I feel like it's funny when you see my review, you heard my tone. I feel like I was the only one who was somewhat positive about the show, in the sense that I gave 2-3 stars. But my point, continuing on, you currently have, at that moment, when looking at that show, right? Look at that show. Look at that main event. Last night, you had this match with Jon Moxley and Swerve Strickland. It was terrible. It was horrible. It was garbage. The crowd was dead. As I said last night, you went out of your way, essentially, to focus on that main event, and you did all the stuff building up to that show, which was very little because you only had little time. You get into the match, and you do actual wrestling. Greco-Roman locks and catch as catch can for the first 5 minutes, and no one's responding to you. Had that been anybody else in that position, they would have gotten a response. Because if you were a good promoter, the people typically who should be in that position are over superstars. That's a sign of a good promoter. When you can have someone stand there, do a fucking tie up and get a pop for it. I mean, Rock and Hogan, and I'm not comparing them, I know that's an absurd comparison, but I'm just saying, Rock and Hogan had to look left and right, and they got some of the biggest reactions of all time, just looking left and right. But nevertheless, though, you have that main event with Swerve and Jon Moxley. It was horrible. It was boring. They had to go right back to the hardcore shit because no one was reacting to their actual wrestling, because it's as if no one actually relates to what the fuck you're doing. So you have to pop the crowd with spots rather than your actual character work or your story that you came into the show with. It's almost as if I say that every other week, but no one listens. It's almost as if I say this all the time, but no one listens because you want to focus on the spots and the matches. So now when the time comes when you could do easier stuff and people can react to it, no one does. Because why the fuck should they care? You're just two guys doing boring wrestling moves. Whereas you could be two over guys doing boring wrestling moves, but no one's focused on the wrestling moves because you're two over guys. Explosion. It's called wrestling. But it gets worse. Because they noticed that they couldn't get over actually wrestling because they themselves are not legitimately over. They do the hardcore bullshit spots, right? And to add more frequency to the bullshit that they're currently doing at that moment, you have objectively probably the worst finish of the year so far in all of professional wrestling. Not in AEW history. No. But so far this year might be the worst finish of all time. Or all year, excuse me. Because what happened was they had a big surprise for you guys. Now, never mind the Russo-esque booking, as I notated last night that AEW fans tend to go after. Vince Russo is the worst person in the world. Okay, that's your opinion. But he's the worst person in the world, and one of those reasons, and I would say that one of the biggest compelling reasons for most indie marks who happen to be AEW fans, is Vince Russo is fucking garbage because he overbooks. Well, color me shocked. It's almost as if the double standard exists. Because Vince Russo does overbooked bullshit and you hate him for it. But some of the most diehard AEW fans, like that AO King guy, who's an absolute fucking clown. I seen him on Twitter last night praising AEW and the booking decision. Just an absolute fucking clown. It's your opinion. But again, he's one of those people who I guarantee you who will shit on Vince Russo, but at the same time say that the booking of last night's main event was absolutely good, right? Right? It's always those three guys I see all the time. It's that real one guy with the John Cena PFP. It's the AEW Defender guy whose name is literally AEW Defender. And it's that King XO AO, whatever his fucking name is, guy. The same guys all the fucking time defending the most abysmal bullshit, but at the same time will just completely contradict themselves if WWE happened to do the same thing. It's crazy. But my point being is, the Young Bucks come back after all the bullshit that you set everybody through when it comes to all the overbooking nonsense. You climax it with the Young Bucks coming back and hitting a BTE trigger on Swerve Strickland, leaving the ring after all the chaos that ensued. Swerve kicking out all this stuff, all that stuff. AEW finishes typically kicking out of goddamn gunshot wounds to the head and shit like that. Swerve gets the Triple H treatment, circa, ironically, he gets the Booker T treatment, circa 2003 with Triple H. Takes a BTE trigger, takes John Moxley forever to pin him. Mind you, this is, I can't even remember whether or not this is a new referee or an old referee, because, you know, during the match, John Moxley threw a chair at one of the referees' heads in a regular singles match. Let that sink in. But yeah, they hit the BTE trigger on Swerve, and it took John Moxley every bit of like 30 seconds to pin him. I mean, given the rules of AEW, he should have not even had a 1 count kick out. I mean, again, guys can jump off of parachutes and accidentally, you know, land on the floor from the sky and kick out at 2. I mean, with a 30-second wait to pin the guy after such a simple move, that should have been an instantaneous kick out given the logic in AEW, but that's not the case. That's not the case, Poppy. Yeah, the Young Bucks do that, and then they walk away, and now you have people asking themselves, why? What was the point? How come? What the fuck are you guys doing? And all I'm saying is, I told you so. I told you so. I'm sitting back like an evil villain on my chair, just smiling away, looking around. I mean, what y'all talking about right now? Y'all talking about this? Oh, you mean this thing that everybody within our community have been saying for like years now? That AEW has no fucking clue what they're doing? You guys are just now noticing? Hey, don't go after them. Like I said about JD also. Okay? Like I said about JD also. Do not go after these people in regards to, oh, you're just now realizing. No. They're big voices. Let them filter in onto our side. Little by little, they can be the voices to talk. Obviously, Tony Khan responds to people like JD. He gets to them. Hopefully, as his viewership numbers start to drizzle little by little, like shit coming down your leg when, you ate too much. As that's occurring, let JD keep attacking him. So maybe Tony might actually, change his ways, because his ways is terrible. I seen that press conference last night when one of the fans, and this is probably the only compelling question that any of these fucking Glazers ask, even between WWE and their gay ass press conferences too. One of the fans actually has some balls. He asked Tony Khan, hey, yo, there's a lot of people who were pissed off last night about that show, more in particular that finish. You got anything to say about that? Look at that. Actual fucking journalism. Good job. You're asking actual difficult questions, not dumbass smart questions like, what is your menu for fucking Waffle House? Yes, that was a real question poised to Tony Storm. But it gets better. It gets so much better. Because even with all the bullshit you did last night, shit that nobody asked for, you went well above and well beyond. Because while you're busy, Tony, having a press conference with the rest of your fucking Glazers, what you didn't hear and what you missed was your boy Swerve Strickland in the ring. And what was Swerve Strickland doing in the ring? Well, of course, his thing. And what is Swerve's thing, you might be asking? Being the biggest hypocrite in the fucking world and apparently representing the culture for black people. But his first thing is to go after another black man. And it's not as if that black man said something about him being bad for the culture. No. That's what Swerve said about Booker after Vlad, pushed him on that. And then Booker retorted back with, don't let Vlad break up two black men. And then you do the thing Booker T said, don't let Vlad do. You did that on behalf of another white man. But like I said, where have you guys been the entire time when it comes to AEW and their wrestlers? So, even with all the shit that you did last night with the Young Bucks and Jon Moxley, that no one asked for, no one cared for, no one wants to see, you're going to completely collapse your ratings as time goes on because no one gives a shit about the Young Bucks. You then go out of your way to undercut the undercut because it's AEW, bro. I mean, hat on top of a hat, shit on top of shit. You know what I mean? They can't help themselves. You undercut the undercut. And you had Swerve Strickland completely topple your news. You self-sabotage yourself again. You did the CM Punk media scrum stuff again. But this time, it was Swerve in the middle of the ring, and it didn't involve fighting, which probably would have been the case if Booker was there, because he just called a man out on his name, and by default he has to fuck him up. But make matters even better, because this is just a clusterfuck of cliches when it comes to AEW. You did it by talking about the WWE guy. They literally did every negative AEW trope in one night. In one night. The clusterfuck ending. The Jon Moxley bullshit death fight angle that no one cares about. the Young Bucks getting involved in yet another fucking stupid ass angle. But this time it's tied to the angle that is already stupid that you keep doing stupid shit in regards to the finish for. Oh, but it gets better. The media scrum of a bunch of Glazers. Okay. With the guy, you know, who's doing stuff off the show, backstage, while you're doing your media scrum, causing trouble. Yeah. And the trouble that he's causing is mentioning the WWE talent and putting him over. You do realize you've done every negative trope that we have gone after you guys for about 4 or 5 years now. You did them all in one night. And people have the audacity to sit back and actually still praise this shit. I'll do you one better. I'll say this again. All the negative tropes, did it take it all happen? Did it take all the negative bad stuff to have happened all at once for you guys to have noticed this? Because again, it's a whole bunch of people who talk on YouTube have been stating this for how long now? And now you're losing some of your biggest supporters. And I'll say this again. This brings no pleasure to my eyes. It's a wrestling company ruining itself. Why would I want to see that? I don't want to see that. I want to see wrestling thrive. I do want to see AEW in a better position. I've been saying that for the longest. Let everybody else have it. I completely despise AEW and I want them to die. And no, like I said, I may say it in a jokingly manner sometimes, but I'm here to tell you on the record, no, I do not want AEW to die and I want them to thrive. I've been saying that for the longest in a serious tone forever. But people have to have their narratives. It's cool. Do the right thing right now. Now, unfortunately, I don't know what that right thing happens to be because you have trapped yourself. I mean, there are some things to somewhat look forward to, maybe. You know, I do want to see Athena and Mercedes Moné. I do want to see that. On top of that, this is promising because it's clearly going to lead to Mercedes and Toni Storm, which I do want to see. You know, this is probably, for Mercedes Moné, the best she's ever looked so far in AEW. This is easily the best she's ever looked as far as positioning is considered. No more taking on fucking Momo Yakamata. She's actually being positioned now to go up against women that I want to see. Because they're stars in their own right, relatively speaking. And you have a pretty decent angle that if you play your cards right, you could do something with Edge and I'm going to assume Christian eventually taking on FTR. That's good. You got some things you can focus on. I'm assuming with Okada and Omega, hopefully this will be a unification of the Continental and the International Championship, which is funny because if you actually combine both of those names, it's the Intercontinental Championship. But hey, dumb fucks put themselves in these positions, right? There are a bunch of things that you can actually do. You should do. But that still doesn't negate the main factor of your show, which is your world champion scene, your main event scene, which is in complete fucking shambles right now. Now, if I was a betting man, I would assume that it's going to be going into All In Texas. It's going to be Moxley and it's going to be Will Ospreay if I was a betting man. But you still have to find a way to get there. You know what I mean? And knowing that we're going to have weeks of tournaments to determine that factor, knowing that we have to sit through Young Buck promo segments to get through all of the nitty gritty and nonsense, this is going to be bad. And not only are you having to happen to be doing this, you have to be doing this with WrestleMania right there on the horizon. We got 2 more weeks till WrestleMania. 2 more weeks. 2, count them. 2 more weeks. AEW's in trouble, folks. They're losing supporters left and right. They're making terrible decisions. And they happen to be doing it at the worst period. Like the worst period. You couldn't have fucked up in the worst way, in any worst way possible at this point in time. But hey, like I said, where have you all been? We've been over here saying this shit for years. It's y'all who are now just starting to open your eyes. But I ain't here to kick you when you're down. I'm here to help you up. Here's a hand. Here, come up, stand up. Come join our side. Be a bigger voice and help us. Help us make Tony acknowledge that his product is dog shit so it can get better. Yes? Yay? See? Alright. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, my name is Millennial Smart, and I'll be catching you guys later. Deuces. P. Ice. I ain't saying I told you so. I'm definitely saying I told you so.